Hello. How's everyone? Good. What an amazing week. No? I'm for Michelle Obama for First Lady. Let me just say, I was like, wow. What a, I know we're talking about issues here, but we are at the Democratic Convention. I just was, Senator Clinton last night, as I'm sure everyone has talked about this morning, was remarkable, unbelievable that she could give that speech and bring this party together. So anyway, kudos to Senator Clinton this morning. So I'm proud to be here. I have a couple of hats I wear. I'm the president of Planned Parenthood, but today I'm here as the president of the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, which is our C4 organization through which we do political work and a lot of legislative advocacy around the country. I got to know Simon, actually. We've worked on a couple of election cycles together. We're going to get this one right. We're determined after a couple of trial runs. But in the last cycle, I ran an organization called America Votes. And the idea behind America Votes was that instead of every progressive group in America going off and doing their own thing and seeing how it works out at the end, what if we actually got together and talked about what we were doing and coordinated our voter education and turnout so that we could actually win, and then everyone could get credit, which is sort of a unique idea for progressives, but it worked incredibly well. And through that, I got to know a number of organizations, including NDN, which has been, as you all know, one of the premier organizations on the cutting edge of all the good new ideas happening in American politics, and that's because of Simon Rosenberg's leadership. So I want you to give him a huge thank you for that. Last cycle, you know, Simon Rosenberg was leading the way to talk to Latino voters in America, even though he's not Latino. And it was, to me, he's always found the niche, what is the next thing we need to do, whether it's Latino voters, whether it's new media, and so it's really exciting to be here. But through that process and working with America Votes, I came to know a lot more about Planned Parenthood, and I just want to say quickly, the reason I went to Planned Parenthood is, one, it's an honor to work there. It's an incredible organization, but to me it was the single largest untapped sort of progressive organization that had reach into every household in America that could really be a force not only for good health care and good sex education and the other kinds of things we do, but an unbelievable political force in this country. And that's the work I've been doing over the last couple of years to try to help transform this 4 million supporter base in our country into a really important political force. So here's the basics about Planned Parenthood. We started 91 years ago. Margaret Sanger opened up her first clinic in Brooklyn, New York, and started handing out birth control before it was legal. Actually, just giving women advice about birth control. 10 days later, she and her sister were hauled off to jail. But it was the beginning of a movement, and sort of she never looked back. Planned Parenthood is now the leading reproductive health care provider in the United States of America. And for many women, increasingly, we are the only health care provider for them. We're their primary source of health care, and frankly, obviously the source of affordable health care. 75% of our clients are at 150% of poverty or below. So the folks that Simon saw when he went around the country are still true today. 1 in 4 women in America goes to Planned Parenthood at some point in her lifetime. 1 in 4 women. It's stunning. I bet everyone in this room knows someone who's been to a Planned Parenthood. So we are as close to sort of the good housekeeping seal of approval of an organization. And the amazing thing is we're in every state, red, blue, in between, the whole thing. We provide not only 2.5 million people birth control every year, but we do breast cancer screenings for 900,000 women. We do cervical cancer screenings for 1.3 million women. We do prenatal care, midlife services, and on and on and on. So I like you to kind of keep that in perspective, because 97% of the work we do is preventative health care. And so I like to say that Planned Parenthood does more to prevent unintended pregnancy than any organization, and the need for abortion, frankly, than any organization in America, and always has. So whenever we're dealing with our opponents, it's really important to remember that if they really wanted to get serious about preventing the need for abortion in this country, they would link arms with Planned Parenthood and come and volunteer at one of our clinics. And I welcome them. Every day we see patients, and their stories there's a million stories. An example is Sarah, a mom who came to us recently with her daughter. Her daughter's 16. when she told Sarah that she was 7 months pregnant. And so Sarah brought her to Planned Parenthood, where they got prenatal counseling and care and helped them through their pregnancy. And Sarah, every year, 750,000 teenagers in America get pregnant. So that's a lot of who we see. And then there are patients like Lisa, who is 52 years old, who came to Planned Parenthood. When she came to us, she had not had health care. She had not been to a doctor in 10 years, had no health insurance, like the 47 million Americans who don't have health care, but Planned Parenthood was there for her. So this is who we are seeing. And as you can imagine, under the Bush administration, we're seeing this more and more and more. What we started out doing 91 years ago is still what we do today. And one of my favorite statistics is that even though Simon doesn't think about, or didn't until he had this great family he has, he may not have thought about birth control a lot, the average woman in America wants to have, if she wants to have children, she spends 5 years of her life getting pregnant and having children. She spends an average of 30 years of her life trying not to get pregnant. Okay? So it's not like teenagers in the backseat of cars, right? This is a lifelong pursuit for women, is to try to avoid being pregnant when you're not ready to be. So I think of our job as 30 years times 60 million women. That's basically Planned Parenthood's work. We obviously have been the subject of enormous political battles, and I would say this year John McCain is running for the highest office with the absolute lowest aim, and that is to literally overturn the right of women in this country to a legal and safe abortion. That's been his commitment. When Bush came into office 8 years ago, I mean, it's just been a downhill slide for women's health care. And I think about this is really important, particularly in this election, to recognize that women's health care is an economic issue. It's not an intellectual issue. It's a health issue, and it's an economic issue. This administration, just for starters, instituted the global gag rule, which has meant millions of women around the country have been unable to get family planning services ever since George Bush came into office. They have spent $1.5 billion of your tax money on what's called abstinence-only programming, okay? I don't know if any of you have teenagers. I have some. This is a program in which you tell teenagers, just don't have sex. And the record reflects it doesn't work. We have the highest teen pregnancy rate in the Western industrialized nations, with the exception of Russia. We have a rising teen birth rate, and this spring, the CDC reported that 1 in 4 girls in America, 1 in 4 teenage girls in America has a sexually transmitted infection. So we're not doing enough. One thing I'm very proud of is we worked with governors around the state. I was just with Governor Jim Doyle in Wisconsin. Governor Jim Doyle was one of the first ones to say to the federal government, I'm not going to take another dime of abstinence-only money into my state because we're going to provide real sex education for young people in the state of Wisconsin. And he's since been joined by 17 governors who have said the same thing. We won't take any more federal abstinence-only money into our state. So this program is on the skids, much to the dismay of the right wing, and like my mother would say, I think you can put a fork in it because it's almost done. I think we're close to being over, but we're paying the price in our teens' health. And I think that's really important. Just last week, the Bush administration announced that HHS was putting out a new rule, which essentially would mean that women in America could no longer go to a pharmacy or go to an emergency room and be guaranteed that they could get emergency contraception. It took a 40-month campaign at the FDA to get emergency contraception. This is the morning after pill, or Plan B, to get this over the counter. And now the Bush administration is trying to say that women no longer have the right to get it, even if they've been victims of a sexual assault and go to an emergency room in America. So it's a disaster. And in 2 days, I hope we'll nominate the next president of the United States, Barack Obama, who will finally put these 8 years way behind us. So that is not a moment too soon. I talked a little bit last night at the convention, and I just think it's important to recognize that as we're looking for in these next 9 weeks issues that really are clearly dividing the two candidates for women, because women are going to determine this election. And the record between John McCain and Barack Obama could not be wider when it comes to women's health. Barack Obama has been a leader for women's health care, both in Illinois, in the legislature, and in the United States Congress. He's been the lead sponsor for affordable birth control. He's been a supporter of family planning, of comprehensive sex education, and he has always stood firmly for a woman's right to choose. John McCain, on the other hand, has an abysmal record, and unfortunately women don't know it. He's voted against family planning, he's against international family planning, he's against, as some of you may have seen, he doesn't even know whether insurance companies that cover Viagra should cover birth control, and he is committed to appointing justices that would overturn Roe versus Wade. He has a 0% voting record with Planned Parenthood after 25 years in Congress. But what's really important is that women in America have no idea. We polled this spring and learned that half of John McCain's supporters that are female are pro-choice. Okay? That's really important to remember when you go back to your states. Half of his female supporters are pro-choice. And when they learn the very simple facts about where he stands and how out of touch he is on women's health issues, they leave him very, very quickly. With just a little bit of information, we begin to move women off of supporting McCain and onto supporting Barack Obama. So if I could give you one thing to do when you go home, is to join with us and make sure that everyone in America understands that John McCain has a 0% voting record with Planned Parenthood. It's the most important thing we could do. Here's what we're doing. I'll say real quickly because I know we're about out of time. I mean, we've seen what it's like to have a president who opposes birth control, who opposes teens getting health information, who has appointed Samuel Alito and John Roberts to the Supreme Court. And I guess I couldn't say it any more clearly than Senator Clinton said last night. We've seen 8 years of it. We cannot take 4 more. We cannot take four more. We need a president who's going to advocate and be a partner with Planned Parenthood to advocate for women's health and for teens' health. I think that, when I think about Planned Parenthood, there is no more important decision that the next president will make than to make appointments to the United States Supreme Court. And I promise you this, we will work day and night to defend this truth, which is that 5 men in black robes do not know better what is right for women's health than women themselves and their doctors. And that is... But I want to say this is a very tough election. It's a very close election. You absolutely can make a difference, and Planned Parenthood's Action Fund is committed to make a difference. When we met with Senator Obama and Senator Clinton last summer, we committed to bring 1 million pro-choice voters to the polls this November in the battleground states, and we're going to make good on that commitment this November. Because I believe elections are a dividing line. They're a choice that we make about whether we're going to go forwards or whether we're going to go backwards. And by God, I'm here to say, as women, we are not going to go backwards in this country. Not for me, not for my daughters, not for my granddaughters, and not for yours. So we can do this. It's time we had a president who will bring about the change we need to protect women's health, to protect the health of our teenagers, and to stand up for true equality in this country. It's time for President Barack Obama. So thank you for letting me be here today. Thanks for what you will do.
Cecile, I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Great.
So do we have mics, or should just go ahead, Mike?
You can probably just yell.
Raise your hand, or just yell. Yelling is okay. Yes, ma'am. We're taping, so please just identify yourself and grab the mic.
Cecile, I'm actually on my local board, but I don't know. You haven't mentioned the Bush's current executive effort to change I guess it will be a federal rule that will redefine abortion, and so many people don't know that that's going on.
Right. So really good point. I referenced it just really briefly. The HHS just issued a new rule which essentially would allow providers of health care, anyone who gets any public funding, federal funding, providing health care, more than 500,000 health care providers would be affected. Folks would have to allow their employees, doctors, clinicians, counselors, to refuse to provide information to women about all their health care options. One of the most egregious, and this would trump state law, and one of the most egregious examples to me is many states we have fought to get emergency rooms required to let women know that they can get emergency contraception when they've been the victim of a sexual assault. This rule would trump that. So if your daughter went to an emergency room as a victim of a sexual assault, it would depend on who was on duty at that emergency room, whether or not she even knew that emergency contraception was available to her to prevent an unintended pregnancy. That, to me, is un-American. That's what Bush is proposing. We are mobilizing hundreds of thousands of people around this country, including medical organizations, anyone who works with young people and works with women's health care, to mobilize against this rule and see if we can keep it from going into effect. But thanks for raising that. So you can go on our website and find out the information.
One more question this side. Go ahead, Peter. Anybody over here? Back? Anybody? Oh, there's someone back.
I saw.
Wait for the mic, please.
Go ahead.
Mark Winkleman from Austin.
Hi, Mark.
Good morning. You know, you covered a lot of extraordinary and outrageous statistics. Perhaps you've done this already, but could we get from the website or something a 1 or 2 page bullet point summary of these things that we can share with friends?
Absolutely. In fact, we have, I don't know if any of you all might need them, but we actually are distributing condoms. And if you don't need them, these are, you can pay it forward. You can gift them. But my trusted assistant, Ellen Gollenbeck, can hang up. These are actually one in the 10 things you need to know to protect yourself against John McCain. Anyway. So we basically, we have, then you have to collect the whole set though, right? You got to get all 10 condoms to know exactly. But many have. But actually on our website as well, and we have materials, which I guess you didn't bring them here, but we've been sharing around the convention, basically the 10 facts you need to know. Because it's exactly your point, Mark. I mean, these are very basic facts. And when women and men find out how extreme John McCain is, he has a 25-year voting record. It reminds me, when we were real quickly, because I know this is the last question, but in 2004, in 2000 even, we were trying to educate women about why George Bush would be bad for women's health. And it was extremely difficult because he'd never done anything, right? He'd never voted on a thing in his life. And basically he said everything he needed to say to try to, I think, obfuscate the issue. And also, I think at the end of the day, folks thought there's no way Barbara Bush is going to let George get away with that, take away a woman's right to choose. I think they thought that, Barbara and Laura would take him out there and talk some sense into him. Okay, so it was very difficult. Fast forward to today. John McCain has a 25-year voting record against women's health, against everything. He was against the Violence Against Women Act, for God's sake. So what does that mean he's for, right? So this guy, he has a 25-year voting record. He's been very clear he wants to overturn Roe, and I don't think anyone in America thinks that Cindy McCain is going to tell John McCain how to vote on much of anything. So I think we have a real opportunity here to actually provide just very basic education. And a lot of women, they don't have time to focus on this election. They're just not going to be tuning in. And this is when we need to be giving them facts. I'll just close with this. I think we keep hearing folks say, well, the American people they just want a president that they'd like to go have a beer with. Well, you know what? Women don't want to go have a beer with the president, We don't have time to go have a beer with the president. Women want to know who's going to take care of their families and their health care and their paycheck. And that's the message we need to be sending to women across this country. And when we do, women will leave John McCain in droves, because women voting for John McCain is like chickens voting for Colonel Sanders. It's a bad idea. Thank you very much. Okay.